Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Budale Srimade Radhana Swami Namne. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Budale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namne. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Picharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschata Destane. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna everyone, welcome to the class. So last session we covered why we need Guru, why we need a Guru. So anyone remembers why we all need a Guru? What was the situation of Arjuna that really pushed the need for a Guru? Anyone want to speak for it? Just in your understanding, in normal words.
If you are dealing with inner conflicts,
Hmm.
like there are situations where having a guru can help you resolve those inner conflicts.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So inevitably, the circumstances in the middle world are such that it's very difficult on the material plane to really solve the problems of life, or make decisions, make right decisions. In the case of Arjuna, he was very educated, well versed in dharma shastras. He was very thoughtful before starting the war. He was thoughtful. He had very valid reasons why he doesn't want to fight. The first was sheer compassion. Being a devotee, bhakta, he is very soft-hearted. He didn't want to kill his teachers and his grandfathers, etc. in the war. He was very compassionate. Compassion. And then we saw how Arjuna did not see any joy in fighting, because generally whenever we become victorious or something, we want to enjoy and share that joy with the family. Now that more than half of his family is going to die in this war, either themselves or the opponent party, he didn't see any joy. Loss of enjoyment is the second reason. First one was the compassion, second one was the loss of enjoyment. There is no joy. Whom do we really gain this for if our own family is going to be dead after this war? Third was fear of sinful reactions. Oh, I'm going to kill my own relatives. At no cost, one should kill one's relatives and cause this mass massacre. So that was the third reason that he gave why he doesn't want to fight. And then when all the men in the country are dead, there will be a lot of social disturbances, and there won't be anybody to teach the next generation what social values and rituals to practice, right? We all learn from our elders. In this way, he saw several reasons why he should not fight. At the end of the day, it is all bodily consideration alone, because he did not think anything beyond the body. So, and then finally he was indecisive, at which point he collapsed, emotionally broken down. And until then, when he was speaking all these reasons, he was treating Krishna as his own friend of the same age. But when he realized he cannot make a decision about this war, he immediately accepted Lord Krishna as a spiritual master, as a teacher. Krishna, only you can get me out of this predicament. Only you can solve my problem. I'm unable to make up my mind on what to do next. Only you can. So that was the turning point verse 2.7. We discussed that. So until now, the whole chapter 1 was just the words of Arjuna alone. There is nothing that Krishna spoke. Now, and then Krishna smilingly speaks. So Krishna's words will start with this session today. So Krishna initially chastises Arjuna in a, oh, you're speaking like a very learned man, while you're actually acting like an ignorant person. That's what he mildly chastises Arjuna. So that was the first verse, 11th verse. And then this whole section from verses 11 to 30, they cover the Jnana section of the Bhagavad Gita. Jnana means the knowledge about who we truly are. We only see the bodies of our parents, relatives, brothers, sisters, friends, but we are actually not just the physical body. Physical body is just a shell covering on the eternal soul. So Lord Krishna, in many terms explains the concept of soul and its characteristics in this section. That's why this is called Jnana. Because why is this called Jnana? Once we understand this knowledge, we become much more clear in the way we perceive things in this world, how we see things around, how we deal with the people around, how we deal with the events in our life. Things, how do we see? People, how do we deal? Events, how do we handle? All this wisdom is available by actually understanding this knowledge and actually applying in our own life. Theory is not just enough. We have to apply this wisdom and then it transforms our life. Okay. So now let's see, these are the, verses 11 to 30, and these are the themes covered. In the first, 11 to 13 and again 16 to 25, Krishna speaks about how there is no death to the soul. And so one need not worry about that, right? Yeah. And then one must perform one's duty without consideration of dualities of life. Just like in India, summers are hot, winters are mildly cold. But irrespective of the weather, a housewife cooks for the family, right? Sometimes it is stressful, sometimes it is peaceful. So those dualities keep arising in life. One should not be affected by, oh, this is winter, very cold, I don't want to get up early in the morning. One should not do like that. One should not become lazy. One should perform duty. So they're all these dualities arise because of the sense perception. Senses meet the sense objects, and then there is a perception. The sense perception causes dualities of life. One should not be, one should not give up one's duty based on that. Similarly, Arjuna, you know, when he saw his relatives, he had certain moroseness. So that's also a sense perception. One should not give up his duty based on just merely sense perception. And then he talks about the atheistic theory of soul and finally, Krishna concludes that temporary body cannot be saved at any cost. Whether you kill or not, Bhishma and Drona are going to die one day. You cannot stop death. So for the sake of that, your attachment, you should not give up your duty. So the first verse, 11th verse, Krishna chastises Arjuna. The truly wise do not mistake the body to be the self and lament neither for the living nor for the dead. Yeah, you spoke like a wise man, but a truly wise man actually does not mistake body and soul to be the same, like you are doing. He will clarify, why he said that. But this is the statement. The verse is like this. You can all read after me. These are very important verses of Bhagavad Gita. It is good to memorize also. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. Some of you can unmute and or maybe one of you can unmute, if not all. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha.
श्रीभगवानुवाच
Asochan Anvasocastvam
असोच्यानन्वसोचस्त्वं
Prajnavadamsa bhasase
प्रज्ञावादांश भाषसे
Gatasun agatam sumscha
गतासूनगतासूंश्च
Nanusochanti panditaha.
नानुशोचन्ति पण्डितः
Nanusochanti panditaha. You are thinking yourself as a pandita, but you do not know the difference between what is living, what is dead. Yeah, so that is the verse. Yeah. So what Arjuna spoke is based on Dharma Shastras, but what Krishna is speaking here is Jnana Shastra, knowledge of body and soul. Knowledge of body and soul is superior to Dharma Shastra, the wisdom of Dharmas, Dharma Shastra. So when there is a conflict between the two statements, the Jnana Shastras has to be practiced, not Dharma Shastra. So Arjuna is, Krishna is chastising Arjuna. You are speaking like a learned man, but a learned man is supposed to know the difference between soul and body. However, the words we have spoken so far doesn't show that you are a learned man. And so he's going to teach. Now he concluded. So a good teacher understands where the gaps of knowledge for the student is, right? So Krishna identified it's a diagnosis more. So he understood Arjuna needs some clarification about the nature of the soul. So he now he's going to describe further the characteristics of the soul. So this is the first verse about the characteristics. Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. You are worried about death of your relatives? Yes, in the duty of war, death would occur, but there is no reason to lament. It's not like they will cease to exist forever. As the body is just a covering, just like you have worn a suit, and when it is worn out, you're going to change the suit. So similarly, the jiva continues to exist. It existed. Now after the war is over, they will continue to exist. They will occupy a different body and continue to exist. And I was existing all the time. You were existing all the time before now. So you will continue to exist in the future also. So there is no real loss. The real person is there. Is going to exist. Natve vaham jatu nasam.
न त्वेवाहं जातु नासं
Natvam neme janadipa.
न त्वं नेमे जनाधिपाः
न चैव न भविष्यामः
न
न
चैव
चैव न
न
भविष्यामः
सर्वे वयम् अतः परम्.
सर्वे
सर्वे वयम् अतः
वयम्
परम्.
Yeah, so there was no death, there was no time. You were always eternally existing. Yeah. You want to read the translation, Rahul Prabhu?
As the embodied soul continuously passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. A sober person is not bewildered by such a change.
We all know we existed as a child, and then we moved on to a body of a young boy or a young girl, and then we became youthful, and then middle-aged, and then become slowly old, and then finally we change the body. So the soul is the same. How do we know? Because I perceive myself as the same person when I was a child, when I was a young man, when I'm a middle-aged man. I'm the same person perceiving the perceiving everything around me. Just like the soul changed the various bodies within this life, the soul at the time of death also moves to a different body. It will restart its journey in the next body. Now the question comes, what body? What body will I get in the next life? So what is the answer for it? Anyone want to answer? What determines my body in the next life? I'm right now in a human body, male, living in this place, etc. Now, what body will I get in the next life? What determines?
Thoughts.
What is it?
Isn't it your karmas and your thoughts at the last moment?
My thoughts at the last moment determine my next body, yes. But your thoughts will be based on what actions you perform throughout your life, right? So one can lead his life performing sinful actions that can lead him to lower forms of life. So he will get a lower types of body like animals or trees or even demons, like that, based on one's actions in this life. Just like somebody drinks liquor, he'll get liver cirrhosis. Based on one's action, one gets reactions. On the other hand, one leads a spiritual life or very religious life. He goes to a higher body. He gets a higher body. Just like you pay lower rent, you get a smaller bedroom home to rent, and you pay higher rent, you get a better facility. So similarly, the soul gets better facilities based on one's actions in this life. And ultimately, liberation means actually getting rid of getting the new bodies, right? As long as one has desires, he will continue to get material bodies, right? If his desires are completely transformed to spiritual desires, for example, if you have used your body continuously in the devotional service of the Lord, then your next body should be in the spiritual world, because that's what you have transformed your body to be, to act like, right? So that's why we engage in devotional activities. Right now, we still do, partial engagement. We're not fully engaged. Our body, mind, soul, everything, not just body wise, right? When we transform our body, mind, and actions all to be completely spiritual, then you qualify yourself to be in the spiritual world naturally. So, like that, one's actions determine one's next body. So, now, generally in this world, death is a painful time to consider death of our own relatives, our own family, even our friends. It's a very painful separation. But this knowledge of soul is such a hope-giving wisdom. You know that you are not this body, and you know the person who left you continues to live in the next body. If, for example, they go to a lower form, you can pray for them and help them get to a higher, better life. And no prayers go unanswered. If they are already higher, well and good, they have got a better life. So there is nothing really to lament. Of course, the only loss is the personal connection with that individual that we lose. There is, of course, there is that loss. But otherwise, we are still, we still don't need to. Once we have this knowledge, yeah, we can handle the lamentation. Otherwise, we have seen in the past, many times when people lose their loved ones, especially their own children, very difficult to lead the rest of the life. They will suffer like anything. But once this knowledge is instilled thoroughly and realized in one's own life, one will be able to handle in a better way. It's not that you are not going to have any feelings. You are going to lose the personal connection with the individual, but it is much better to you can instead pray for them. Instead of crying for them, you would pray for them. You would always remember them, cherish them, learn the qualities from them, the good qualities. So like that, you make it a very spiritual relation, right? And this knowledge is the missing piece in this world right now. Because of bodily considerations, we think, we are different from other people like Americans or some other, South Africans or whatever. We see bodily differences and consider ourselves to be different. But if we act like a spirit soul, we consider everyone is a pure spirit soul, and everyone is ultimately hankering for that selfless love, right? Because that's the characteristics of the soul, right? Everybody is craving for love, and to express that love, they serve, right? So once we understand this basic concept well, yeah, the externally sometimes we may have fights and all, those all become immaterial. At the core, they are the soul. And they are looking for the same thing that you are looking for. You are a soul, expressing love, expressing the desire to love, right? So that's the same natural characteristic every soul has. That is the core dharma of the soul. Once this fundamental is laid down, now you can see life in a much better way. You don't get dejected by anything in life, because this temporary body is just like a flash. It's just like a flash. You have been living eternally, and you will continue to live eternally. Where is this one lifetime's one situation can dominate your life? Otherwise, you're thinking this one lifetime in a bigger microscope we see, and we lament, we envy, we do so much, we become angry. You feel, it's all, just like sometimes when we think about our past, incidents of expression of anger or, jealousy. After 10 years, we may think, oh, what a foolish nonsense I was, to really become angry at that person. There's no real reason for it. So similarly, once we have this knowledge, when we are always mindful of this knowledge, we perceive things very differently, right? We don't see bodily differences as much, they exist, but they're not the primary factor, right? Dehinosmin yata dehe
Dehe nosmin yatha dehe
kaumaram yavvanam jara
kaumaram yauvanam jara
tata dehantara praptir
tata
तथा
dehantara
देहान्तरप्राप्तिः
praptir
धीरस्तत्र न मुह्यते.
धीरस्तत्र न
धीरस्तत्र न
मुह्यति.
मुह्यते.
Yeah. So we just read this translation already. Yeah. We'll just, this is a revision. We have already studied this in the past. Quickly revise who are you, right? Just to affirm this knowledge, not just theoretically based on what is given in Bhagavad Gita textbook, just logically frame our understanding of the soul well, right? There was this professor of anatomy, Dr. Harry Monson, who studied the physical body of human being, and he found that this body has this particular composition: 5 pounds of calcium, 1.5 pound of phosphate, 9 ounces of potassium. So just considering the anatomy of the physical body, these are the chemicals in the human body. And if you value the human body, right, that's our worth. If you consider yourself only a physical body, our body, that doesn't cost more than a couple of dollars, or maybe a little more. This is an old, this is an old one, old PPT. Yeah. So it doesn't sound like we are worth only 100 or $2, right? Yeah. So definitely we are more than just the chemical composition that we perceive, we see externally. So then what is our real identity? So the materialistic point of view, we are bodies made up of matter, right? Just a chemical bundle. And at the time everything is finished. That is such a materialistic viewpoint. This is exactly the reason life becomes very miserable, because there is no way one can escape death. He will see death of his own relatives, parents, whatnot, family. At the time, he has no better answer. Oh, this person is lost completely. Oh my God, such a loss. Death is miserable, to face, to face in this world with such, lack of knowledge. But the spiritual viewpoint, it's not just a body of flesh and bones. Rather, we are actually the soul encased in a material body. The soul is the real self. Just like your body is the real body and dress is just a covering. Similarly, the body is just a covering for the soul. It is the least important thing. Yeah. And when we die, uh, death means just stopping of material bodily function, and the soul continues to exist. Here is an old woman. You see, this is the reflection of the current material world. What is she doing? She has a cage and a bird, parrot, and she is polishing the cage nicely, cleaning all the dust, coloring it, painting it, and neglecting the parrot within the cage. What happens? Eventually the parrot will die. But ideally, the old woman should take care of the parrot. Whether she takes care of, if she takes care of case, that's good, well and good. But if she doesn't take care of the case is also fine. What is it telling? What is it telling about when you hear about this analogy? Anyone? The old woman is taking care of the case and forgetting the soul. Yes. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was telling the same thing, Prabhuji. She is ignoring the soul and taking care of the body. Uh, so
Hmm.
the
So similarly, everybody in this world, okay, are focused on body. How many types of nail polishes are there? Correct? How many types of soaps are there? How many types of beds are there? The whole shopping complexes are fully taking care of body. Who is really taking care of the soul in this world? As the civilization is progressing, the so-called materialistic civilization is progressing, we are pampering more and more the body, isn't it? All these big companies, Microsoft, Amazon, all these are building, whatever they're building is for what? Ultimately, it is to cater to the body. You see how much far we are going away from the soul? But the real person is the soul, and he has to be fed. Whether you take care of the covering or not, that is the missing. That's the missing part in the current civilization. Yeah. So these are some scientific proofs for the existence of the soul. When a person passes away, what do we say? The person passed away. The body is there fully. Who is the person who passed away? Logically, we meant the soul that existed in the body went away. So that is common sense, right? The body is there, but still we call it as a person passed away. And then second is consciousness. So these are all symptoms of the soul, okay? The first is we, by common sense, we understand that the soul passed away from the dead body. That's why we call, inherently we understand that there is something beyond the physical body, because the body is there, but it's unconscious, it's not moving, it's dead. What is left, what has left is the soul. So second is consciousness. If you keep a photographic mission in a red light, it can detect the color and say, I see red light, but does it perceive it? Dead matter does not perceive the experience. It only can record based on what it recognizes. It has no experience. Here is an old man and a woman walking in the morning, in this twilight, in the morning light. They are experiencing the beauty of nature, right? They're building memories because living being is conscious. It has experience. So that is the symptom. Consciousness is the symptom of the soul. A dead man cannot experience. A dead mission cannot experience. Right? So the consciousness means means to be aware, think, feel, and will. Thinking, feeling, and willing are there because we have life. The soul is there in the body. And these are scientific explanations. There are innumerable records of near death experiences and out of body experiences where especially in operation theaters, when actually the when a person is being operated, sometimes the completely the heartbeat stops as per the readings, and the person goes out of the body and actually sees from the top what is going on, what the doctor is doing, how he's operating, and what he's speaking. And then again, the soul goes back to the body. There are like many, many records of this. You can go online and search for this. There are near-death experiences and out-of-body experiences. These studies were done. These all show that there is something beyond the body. There is a soul. That is the actual person. That is the person who is the perceiver, who is the real self. Soul just merely uses this body to perceive this existence. It sees through the eyes, it hears through the ears, it experiences through the tongue, it touches through the skin, but actually the soul is the perceiver, right? Of all the experiences. Body is not. Body is just matter. It doesn't have any. It just like any dead physical thing. It has no direct perception. Yeah, there are many books written on this out of body experience. So it's a very scientific subject. And the other concept that clarifies that soul exists is the reincarnation. So there is this professor, Ian Stevenson. He had recorded 3,000 cases of spontaneous reincarnation memories. He's a professor of psychiatry, University of Virginia. He has investigated real cases of people who remembered at a very young age, between like 4 to 8, where they remembered what they were in their past life. And these were recorded. Some examples also you can see here. These are like 30 most convincing cases of reincarnation. Like that. There are many books on this. All these point to the existence of soul. That's the whole point I'm trying to get to. Another aspect, phobias. We all have, experienced people with phobias. Some people have phobia of fire, some people have phobias of water. It all is because in their past life they have very negative experience with that particular entity, right? So Ian Stevenson, out of his research, he realized there is a direct connection between phobia and the past life. Yeah. So there are people who had fear of water or phobia of water, and in fact they were actually drowned in the previous life. Their life ended in drowning. Some people have phobia of firearms, like that. Yeah. Another scientific evidence is that people who are born twins, they their temperaments are quite contrast in most of the cases, because they are two different souls and they have individuality by the soul, right? So individual souls, each of them are different, so they have their own individual temperaments, right? Even though they're born, they look the same, they grow the same height, they look the same way in every possible way, but individually they are very different people. It shows that there is something different between the bodies, right? The soul that gives the identity to the individual, that is very different in its aspirations and desires. Now, this is another very, Sukla Gupta. He was a very famous version. She's, dead and born in a different family, and she remembered her family and, her past home, her in-laws' home in the past. She exactly identified. She took all her family members of the current life. She's only like 5 years at this time, right? and she took all the family members of the current family to the family of the old family, previous lives family. She identified her previous husband, her house, her mother-in-law, brother-in-law, husband. So it's a very well-written, documented story. It clearly shows reincarnation is proven. See, our acharyas have given in the scriptures, but people of modern times, they question whether it is scientific. Here are the proofs. It's proven. So he could recognize even the nicknames of the brother-in-laws. Yeah. So many great people like Benjamin Franklin, John Adams, Socrates, they all accepted the existence of the soul. Yeah. People are divided on religion, right? Country, so many, bodily attributes, right? Rich and poor, educated, illiterate, but they're all bodily designations. They're temporary, right? Yeah. So this is all bodily consciousness. All the fights happen because of people's egos, and bodily consciousness primarily. What unites us is, whether we are Europeans, Chinese, or white, black, doesn't matter. What unites us is devotion, the soul, the understanding that we are not this body, we are the soul, and our real desire is to express our, eternal love for the God, right? In that connection, we experience true joy. So when one realizes, yes, I'm, my real satisfaction is in loving God. And because I love, I serve God. You love somebody, how do you express that? You by doing service. If you're not serving, you basically are not loving. So when we understand, that we are soul, we are united. There is no differentiation. We don't look at bodily aspects anymore. Yeah. So everybody can come together without any differences at the bodily level. Yeah. And when you are at that consciousness, you properly use all the resources that are available at your disposal, right? Otherwise, people become very selfish and, only try to take care of themselves or maybe their family or their own country. People have different levels of bodily identities, right? Mera Bharat Mahan is also a bodily identity in a way, right? If you are only considering from the place of birth as the reason for it, right? Everybody is proud of their country, but that's also bodily designation, right? We are a soul, whether we are here or somewhere else, doesn't matter. Our real aspiration is to connect with the Supreme Soul. Yeah. Now he is serving a cow, right? So look at the cows, they are suffering without food. Let me arrange some grass for her. Because you see cow as a soul, right? You treat him like a brother or sister and, take care of them, right? So you take care of not just cows, every living entity. Yeah. Because you see everybody has a soul. Yeah. Why am I suffering, right? Because of lack of understanding of my real identity and what is the goal of life. Once you know your soul, you understand, what makes me happy truly, because now you can try to handle the needs of the soul. But if you don't understand that, then you're basically losing the opportunity of this human life, right? Yeah, so this is another beautiful verse. Vasam sijirnani yata vihaya
वासांसि जीर्णानि यथा विहाय
नवानि गृह्णाति नरोपराणि
नवानि गृह्णाति नरोपराणि
तथा शरीराणि विहाय जीर्णानि
तथा शरीराणि विहाय जीर्णानि
अन्यानि संयाति नवानि देहि.
अन्यानि संयाति नवानि देहि.
Yeah, please read.
You are the soul, your body is just like a shirt. As a person puts on new dresses, giving up old ones, the soul similarly accepts new material bodies, giving up the old and useless ones.
Yeah. Body is as simply as good as a dress. And when it is worn and torn, you just throw away and get the new dress. Similarly, when the body, when body is exhausted or is useless anymore, you just change the body. See here, he's young, he's enjoying. Now he earned here, and he became old after death. He became skeleton, and then again he's born in a new body. The cycle continues, right? Yeah, you see, just like the same person is moving from a cycle to motor vehicle to car to flight. So similarly, the soul keeps changing the body. Yeah. So the soul leaves the body in the current life and takes the womb of another person, based on the quality of desire stored in his subtle body at the time of death. Quality of desire is based on quality of actions one performed throughout one's life, right? So that determines your next life. If you still have material desires, you will continue to come back to the material world, right? If you have only spiritual desires, you're sent back to spiritual world. Yeah, so this is the verse that speaks about what is the uh, determining factor about what gives the next body, right? Yam yam vapi smaran bhavan chajanchatte kalevaram tantam evati kaunteya sada tad bhava bhavita. Yeah, Prabhakar Prabhu.
What if you don't have any desires?
You have no desires. There is nothing
Yeah.
like no desire state. The desire, because the soul is an active principle, it's not a passive principle. Dead body doesn't have. The spirit soul cannot remain without desires. The so-called, spiritualists, Brahman aspiring, yogis try to empty their, mind of all desires, but it's a very, very difficult. It's called Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Even if they do it, ultimately they attain something called Brahma Jyoti. It's a space in between the spiritual world and the material realm, where one remains in a state of Nirvikalpa Samadhi, where there is no action is performed, just like that. But it is described that it's just a matter of time. The soul feels that, oh, this is boring, I need to do something, and then again they come back to the material world. So that kind of liberation is that is also called a liberation. Krishna says talks about that in the 9th chapter, 8th chapter, very well. Generally, it's very difficult process because he hasn't developed the spiritual taste, and because spirit soul by nature, it has, like we always discuss, right, that there is the nature of the soul is to express love and be loved. To love and be loved is the core need of the soul. that is not getting satisfied when one gets that Brahman realization. Yeah.
Gotcha. Thanks, bro.
Yeah, please read. Anyone? Prabhakar.
Whatever state of one being one remembers when he quits his body, O son of Kunti, that state he will attain without fail.
Yeah. It's like a snapshot. At the time of death, whatever is the top of your mind, that becomes your future life. It's like a mathematical thing, huh? Like a train stop. Your stop means you have to get down there. Yeah, it's like that. So now this is your place.
Uh, Prabhu, what if, like, how does the karma through your life come into the picture, deciding your next life?
Yeah. So when we perform actions, what happens is those actions form impressions in our mind. Okay, and we recollect them, especially at the time of death. The key important incidents that happened in our life would flash like a rewind like a rewinding movie quickly. Quick rewind of your entire life will be going through your mind. At that time, if you are attracted to a specific aspect, right? Say suppose you enjoy football and that frame came and you are just stuck there. now, now you become a football player in your next life. It is mentioned like that. The whole lifetime becomes a flash at the time of death. My uncle actually went through this. He explained, he was at a very difficult time, but he was survived. Uh, you know, he had a quick flash of all the incidents and all the loved ones came to his mind. Oh, I'm going to leave all of them. Oh my, I'm going to lose my mummy. So just he, luckily he was saved, but he told me that. Then I realized, yes, whatever is mentioned in the scriptures is true. Yeah. Now in that flash, if you are stuck at something, um, that's what. Of course, you should have a qualification to get that body. If you are, aspiring something to become something, if you have that particular qualification, yes, you will be given that. Okay. So our karmas in this life are very critical, right? So what happens when one performs devotional service? This is a great, thing to understand. When we chant the holy names, especially Hare Krishna Mahamantra, you are basically erasing your millions of lifetimes of past karma. It just erases, winds down completely. It's like garbage of, tons of garbage on your head. You're basically driving out all of that. Okay. Uh, it's a very powerful, antidote to remove your material karmic debt. But one should not use it as a tool to get out of it, by the way. Okay. The goal of Hare Krishna Mahamantra is to purify your soul of all these material contamination so that the soul can connect with Supreme Soul. Otherwise, if you are too dirty, can you meet your Prime Minister? You can't, right? It is an aid to connect with the God. It's not an aid to enjoy, get rid of the sins. That's not the goal. The goal is to connect with God. Okay. Ideal way to every karmic action we performed is to go through a reaction for it. You did some bad karma, you have to suffer for it. You stepped on kicked or killed an animal, you have to be killed by the animal. That's the only way to balance your karma, right? Everything works like that in this world. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Newton's law is basically karma theory. That's how everything works. There is nothing like you can get away from any actions that you performed in the past without getting the reaction. But the upaya is, the holy name. it can not only nullify, it can also remove the sinful tendencies. If you have sinful tendencies of bad activities, even that will be rid of for you. Okay. Anyway, we are going too far in that. Yeah. So we quit one body. So based on one's desires, one may get any types of body, and of course, good or bad karma. These, what you sow shall you reap, right? Yeah. So if you sow, tomatoes, you get tomatoes. If you sow oranges, you get oranges. Nothing else. So similarly, whatever actions we perform, that is the way we get reactions in our life, right? Sometimes if people say, "Oh, everybody is so negative to me," it's not that they are negative to you. It is the reaction of what you did to them. It's never like somebody becomes negative to you. The karma is sometimes instant, sometimes it may be delayed. You may sow a seed, it can take years to get the fruits. But if you punch a person, he will punch you back right away. Yeah. So we have a responsible human form of life. So we should avoid sinful activities and take the right path, right? So today we learned about the knowledge of soul. So we have to go back and apply this knowledge so that we don't understand we are soul. We should not get entangled into sinful activities and reactions. So these are 4 pillars one should avoid. Meat eating. If you eat meat, you have to become the animal, and the animal has to eat you. There is no escape out. Intoxication damages your body. Gambling, right? So it destroys your consciousness. Illicit relations, right? Destroy your purity. So in this way, so these are sinful reactions, sinful activities that cause, animal bodies or, lower forms of life. Yeah. So if you like to sleep like a polar bear forever, you'll get a body of polar bear. You want to expose yourself? Yeah, go expose, become a tree in the next life. See, this lady became a tree. Yeah. If you obey God's law, perform, austerity, meditation on the holy name, perform sacrifices, gain the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita like you are all doing, associate with saintly people, then you go back to a higher life in the next life, right? And you can avoid actually birth, old age, death, and disease, right? How is that possible? Through association. So we are all coming together. This is called association, right? We learn together, we ask questions, clarify our understanding. That's called association. And then study books. Every day we should, study spiritual wisdom. And they chant the holy names of the Lord, right? Prayers and chanting. And ideally eat Krishna Prasadam, right? At least vegetarian diet. That way, what goes in is pure. And engage your body in services, right? To serve the devotee community. One way or the other, one has to engage his body in the spiritual cause. Yeah, so in this way, one rises high in the spiritual life. So for those, Krishna says, Mam upechaka punarjanma dukkhalay mashashvatam napnuvanti mahatmana samsiddhi paramam gata. Right? So having come to this material world, lead a pure life so that you get paramam gatim. the highest abode of spiritual world. Yeah. After attaining with the great souls who are yogis in devotion, never return to the temporary world, which is full of miseries, because they have attained the highest perfection. So this is 8:15. Krishna says, right? After attaining means they have attained in this world, Krishna, by performing bhakti, right? Through sincere devotion, they have achieved Krishna. Once they do that, you don't need to come back to this world. Krishna promises. Yeah. So this we discussed, how the soul moves from the bodies. Yeah. So here are reasonings how Krishna answered Arjuna's questions. The various reasons why he doesn't want to fight. Right. So initially he said, Krishna, the soul is individual. It's not like after death, the bodies, the souls of Bhishma and Drona, they are now non-existent. Their individuality will continue to exist in the future. So there is no lamentation for death. The individual soul will continue to exist individually. Then Arjuna may argue, change of body is still cause of lamentation. See, they're still going through a change of body. They have to leave this current body and move to a new body. That's very painful, right? Then to that Krishna says, it's natural to change body. You have grown from young to middle-aged man now. So there is nobody should lament. It's a natural change. So similarly, now Bhishma and Drona, they're old. It's okay if they change their body now. Arjuna may argue, but we lament for loss of young to old age, youth to old age. But Bhishma and Drona will get fresh bodies, which can be heavenly birth or spiritual bodies. So in fact, they will get a better body because they're performing dharma yadda and so those who die in the battlefield generally go to heaven. And then Arjuna may think, but attachment to current body of relatives was still be a cause of lamentation on losing them. Yeah, this
Prabhu,
one. Yeah.
sorry, complete your thought. I have a question. I'll wait.
Yeah. So yeah, you are losing your attachment, but that's natural. We lose attachments within this world due to dualities of the world. These are sense. They all arise out of sense perception. You cannot avoid. So that's not a good reason to stop fighting. Yeah. So Krishna clearly establishes that the soul is eternal, body is temporary. So Kauravas cannot escape death even if Arjuna doesn't kill. Yeah. And Arjuna says, violence will incur sin. Violence under my direction does not incur any sinful reaction. We discussed this in the past. If the country gives the permission for the soldier to fight the opposing parties, and the soldier kills in that fight, he doesn't get any punishment. In fact, he'll be awarded. So because Arjuna is not acting independently, he's acting under the guidance of Krishna, he will not get any sinful reactions. Yes, Proj, you want to ask?
Yeah, Prabhu, did you say if you die in battlefield, you're awarded like a place? Isn't like if you are in a battlefield, you might be in experiencing strong emotions like anger and stuff.
Mhm.
So I'm trying to understand how if you're in a battlefield and you die for a cause and you are experiencing strong emotions at the same time, how does that elevate you
Oh,
to a
because
higher
it
plane?
was discussed about remembering what state of mind one is in, correct? That's the body they'll get in the next life. Actually, Bhagavatam clarifies about this. So those who have seen Krishna and in the opponent party, and seeing Krishna, those who left their body. In fact, everybody did that. They all went to spiritual world. It is mentioned in the prayers of Bhishma, I think, that they all left to the spiritual world. None of them, because they had the opportunity to see Krishna at the time of death.
And probably like what about soldiers who are fighting in modern day battlefields where we don't know whether they're following dharma or not?
Yeah, but it depends. If the country leadership sends them, the leadership gets the reaction if they are not doing for the proper reason. The soldier is just an instrument. He's not the main cause, right? They may be part of it, but yeah. So it depends. Karma is very complicated. We cannot easily say what is right, what is wrong. Um, yeah. So ideal way to live. So what's in our control is what we should focus on. While living, lead a spiritual life. Okay. So we don't know how we die and what kind of thoughts will be at the time. What kind of fears or anger or whatever feelings we may have. Um, there was a question by Sri Ramanujacharya of South India to one of the devotee of Sri Rangam who had a very personal connection with the deity there, Sri Ranganath. The devotee, not Ramanujacharya, but the other devotee, he was very lovingly serving the Lord, and almost every day he would fan the Lord and feed prasadam, bhoga and all. And Lord has personal connection with the devotee. He would talk to him just like anyone else. Okay. And most of the town knows about it. So Ramanujacharya asks a question. What if a devotee performs all his life devotion service and at the time of that just doesn't remember? Because based on this verse, right, that we studied, what if he doesn't remember God at the time? What happens to him? To that, and the devotee goes and asks that question from Ramanujacharya, and the Lord says, don't need to worry. If you are a devotee, I'll take care of you. Doesn't matter if you are remembering or not. I'll remember you. So, Lord does not forget the devotion service performed by a devotee. That's the key point. Okay? Even if we forget, Lord doesn't forget. In fact, in 8th chapter itself, Arjuna, after hearing about all these verses, he has a doubt. What happens to him? He's fighting. If he dies today, what happens? Will he go back to spiritual world or not? He has that question in his mind. Perceiving that question in his mind, Lord himself answers directly that for you don't worry. I'll take care of you. you because you are my devotee, I'll take care of you. Yeah. So when we come there, we'll read. So Krishna establishes vision of seers of truth and rebukes Arjuna. Yeah. So soul is eternal, body is temporary, implies Kauravas cannot escape death, even if Arjuna doesn't kill. Yeah. So if Arjuna may say violence incurs sinful reaction, he said that violence under my direction doesn't incur sinful reactions. We studied in that. Yeah. And then Arjuna may say Bhishma and Drona will lose their present bodies, which are source of enjoyment for them. But actually, change of bodies like change of dress, they'll get fresh bodies, and thus they'll be happy. Anyway, Arjuna's weapons cannot kill the soul. The soul characteristics we'll read now. So there is no soul, the body is all in all, right? one may think like that. Even if you think that there is no soul, if there is no soul, anyway, it's just chemicals, there is no real loss. So even if you don't consider there is no soul, yeah. So Krishna in 2026 also says that just to argue, this is just argument's sake. It doesn't mean there is no soul. So this is the summary of all the characteristics of the soul we discussed so far. The nice summary from Gauranga Preeti Prabhu, I think. Gauranga Priya Prabhu. Yeah, so the way seers see, the people with knowledge, vision of seers of truth, they see that non-existent material body, there is no endurance, and of the eternal, there is no change. For eternal things, there is no change. For material things, there is no endurance. Nashato vidyate bhavo, na bhavo vidyate sata, ubayorapi drishtontas, tvanyayos tattvadarshina darshibhi. I'll just quickly go through this. That which pervades the entire body, you should know to be indestructible. No one is able to destroy that imperishable soul. So there is no death to it. Yeah. So I'll read translations. The middle body of the indestructible, immeasurable, and eternal living entity is sure to come to an end. Therefore, O Arjuna, fight. You cannot save the material body in any way. Yeah. The soul can neither kill nor is killed. You cannot kill the soul. Yeah. For the soul, there is neither birth nor death at any time. He hasn't come into being, doesn't come into being, and will not come into being. He is eternal. He is always there. Along with God, the soul is always there from eternally. Time concept exists only within the material world. We have an idea of, oh, it started at this time. Everything has a beginning. That whole conception is, in the purview of material existence. There is nothing like that beyond the material existence. So we think in those terms, okay? He's born, eternal, unborn, eternal, ever existing, and primeval. Is not slain when the body is slain. How can a person who knows that the soul is indestructible, eternal, unborn, and immutable kill anyone or cause anyone to kill? Yeah. So the soul by nature cannot do any of this. When you are on the soul platform. For the soul, death is simply a change of clothes. Yeah. Vasham Sajiyananda. Soul can never be cut into pieces by any weapon, nor moistened by water. It's like a physical characteristic study of soul, even though it's not physical in nature. Nor burned by fire, nor withered by wind. So, because we always think in terms of body, Krishna is coming to that level and explaining. Yeah, it's not like something you can moisten, something like, things in the fire. It is found that it is through scientific observation, it is observed that there are living entities even in fire. How is it possible? Because they have a body that can withstand fire. Yeah, these are further Nainam Chandana Sastrani. So that verse we already studied. So these are the soul's characteristics further again, right? It's unbreakable, insoluble, neither burned or dried, everlasting, present everywhere, unchangeable, immovable, eternally the same. Present everywhere means it is there in fire, it is there in water, it is there in air, it's everywhere. You cannot say it's there here, it's not there. Soul is invisible, inconceivable, and immutable. Doesn't change. Even if you reject the soul, still there is no cause for lamentation because it's just a chemicals. Chemicals do not cost as much. Yeah. So one who has taken his birth issue to die, and after death one issue to take birth again. Therefore, in the discharge of your duty, you should not lament. All created beings are unmanifest in their beginning, manifest in their interim state, unmanifest again when annihilated. So what need is there for lamentation? So unmanifest means the body ultimately what? It becomes matter, 5 elements again: earth, water, air, ether, and fire. So from the unmanifest, again it manifests into body, just like a pot is manifest from earth, right? It becomes a pot, stays for some time. After some years, it will again become earth. It mixes in the earth. Similarly, all these bodies go back to earth and again come back out of earth. So there is no need for lamentation. Yeah. So some look at soul as amazing. Some, you know. So the people they never understand, right? Sometimes it's just too theoretical for them. So the same soul is so amazing because it stays in a tiny ant. It also exists in a big tree like this. It's the same size soul. Yeah. Soul cannot be killed, so perform your duty. Right? It doesn't mean that okay, you are allowed to perform unnecessary violence. A thief may use a knife to kill a person. A surgeon may use to perform an operation. Right? Both are using knife, but if a thief kills, he will be arrested. There will be capital punishment. The judge would award capital punishment. The surgeon would have saved his, through the knife, right? He will not be punished at all. He will be, in fact, if he does well, saves people, he will be praised. Yeah. So it doesn't mean that one can misuse the ability, right? Because soul is eternal. It doesn't matter. I can kill the bodies. No, you cannot do that. You will get negative karmic reactions. Yeah. Conclusion of Jnana. Soul who dwells in the body can never be slain. Therefore, there is no need for lamentation. It can never be slain by you, the soul. Yeah. So these are the characteristics of the soul we studied. Soul is eternal. It doesn't undergo any changes. It's indestructible, imperishable, immeasurable, cannot be slayed, never be slain, no birth, death, not coming into being, doesn't come into being, will not come into being. It's ever existing, unborn, impermeable, immutable, cannot cut into pieces, burned by fire, no, moistened by water, no, withered by wind, no, unbreakable, insoluble, neither burned or dried, everlasting, present everywhere, unchangeable, immovable, eternally the same, invisible, inconceivable, and amazing. So this is the thorough study of soul, as treated by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. Okay? Yeah. So we'll further study. There are a couple of verses not dealt in depth, the 13th and 14th verse, even though we covered up to 30th, because it is a much deeper subject for practical application in our life. So fruits of doing duty despite difficulty. We'll study that next week. Okay? Thank you all so much. Yeah. Yes, Prabhakar Prabhu. Some boy was born. Yeah, there are many stories actually. In fact, there was a story of a devotee also. He remembered that he was, in his previous life, he was doing Sankirtan in a specific place. In this life, he was naturally attracted to Sankirtans, on the streets. Yeah, there are many stories. Yeah, Sanal Prabhu.
Prabhu, a question. So I think somewhere in the middle of the presentation, you mentioned there was some mention about gambling.
Mm-hmm.
I think so. Just applying to our situations,
Mm-hmm.
we don't gamble, but some of us may be investing in stock markets,
Mm-hmm.
or like if something is considered a bad habit, maybe we spend too much time on our phones. In the environment that we live in, if we don't gamble, but we invest,
Yeah,
and
investment is not gambling. Yeah, so see, gambling, what is gambling? Gambling means you don't know the outcome. Uh, like, and you have like 50% chance, right? You may get it or you may not get it. Like in today's world, everybody is paid in stocks. I'm getting paid also in that. Um, we can't avoid it. We can't just, it's part of it. It's an investment. It grows over a period of time. So main thing is, but there are people who they are, stock investors. Even devotees, they are stock investors, by the way. They're professionals. They know how to invest. They learn the subject. If you do without any knowledge, play stocks, without proper understanding and knowledge, which is, which would, so the main thing, it causes fear and greed. It twists you between the two. If you are not going through those emotions, because your consciousness should not be consumed in that. If you're, as long as your consciousness is not consumed and you do, you study, opportunities, suppose gold is nice or whatever, and you invest, right? So that, I don't think that is wrong. Or you take an advice and, invest. It, I mean, that is the way the world is right now. It's not gambling. If you completely do a guess game and, that is gambling. That's my understanding. Cannot, get away from investing today, because there are only two ways people invest generally, right? In buying a homes, right, or buying or investing in stocks or gold. Three things, right? If you don't do it, what happens? Your money value actually depreciates, and it's unwise to not do that. Actually, you have to invest somewhere. If you are getting too disturbed, don't want to worry about it, just invest in land, right, or homes, whatever. You cannot escape away from these things. Otherwise, your $1,000 will become like $70 in 2 3 years. It loses its value. Okay, so
exactly.
you have to invest, but at the same time, don't go too extreme and, always think about it and, yeah. Unless you are a professional, there are devotees who are professionals. They invest in stocks, and all I know, but they also serve a lot. Actually, they use a lot of their money to give back to temples. That way, they serve, and also they're educated. They are not like, they study, uh, you know, what are the right investments for this year. They study markets. They invest accordingly. That is, proper research. That's not at all, that's not gambling. You may lose in any business. You invest in a hotel, you may lose. You invest in a stock, you may lose. So that's not wrong as such. But it's backed up by research, and, you do everything possible so that, you know, you do proper thoughtful investments, then that's not wrong. Whether it is real estate or gold or stocks, that's That's how you don't like lose the value of your. Otherwise, you'll never be able to retire. By the way,
Yeah,
you
makes
know,
sense.
yeah, you have to plan for your life. If you want to retire in a, you have to plan your life. All of us, each of you also should plan. Like I should retire by 50 years or whatever, and accordingly plan so that you don't struggle all your life trying to meet the basic needs, right? Yeah, so that's possible only when you invest, and investment means you have to do something, one of this. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, Haribal Manas, yes.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Mm.
So I have a question, Prabhuji. How do we justify that religion is not connected to a body, but it's a soul thing? Because Sanatan Dharma, it's eternal, so
Mhm.
it's kind of easy to justify that. But how about the other religions? Are if I'm born in a Christian family, I adopt that religion, right? So is
Mhm.
that connected to my body, or is it connected to my soul?
See, the performance of religious duties is actually spiritual. Whether you are in a Christians also do, they chant, by the way, okay, on their rosaries. And they have they understand God is eternal and they're a soul, they have a life beyond this life. They go to that, that heaven. The heaven they call is actually spiritual world. But they don't have a lot of details as we know. Every religion has evolved to a certain level based on the audience, right? And what they can take, and what their level of mindset, right? So ours is a very old system, and it is far evolved compared to any other. There is no comparison to the wisdom in Vedic text versus what's there in Bible and Quran, right? They are very basic. It's like 10%, 5% or 10% of Bhagavad Gita. So people who evolved, there are, I know many Muslim, what do they call, priests, they actually study Bhagavad Gita to understand their own religion and practice their religion better. There is, so those who are evolved beyond their own books and wisdom, they adopt, those who are inquisitive. Many in the West have adopted Krishna consciousness because they have it answered their, their soul's needs. When a soul is getting evolved, it aspires accordingly, and it meets its, requirement with particular spiritual practices. It stops there and continues evolving from there, right? Those who evolved beyond Christianity, they have adopted Krishna consciousness, a lot of them. So I haven't heard anybody going from Krishna consciousness to practice, Christianity.
Prabhuji, thank you.
Yeah. Anything else? So we are in a very good place. Krishna consciousness. It's a very evolved. It's easily available, practicable even in the West. So in that way, we are very fortunate. The methods are given are also very easy. Chanting the holy name is not at all. It's universal. It can be done by anybody. And we have association. We have good books, good wisdom, good practices, sankirtan, chanting, deity service, prasadam, kirtans. Look at any other religion, find anything like any of these combinations, Vaishnava association, kirtans. It's a good package, and it's not like you're meditating in a dark room or in a Himalayas. You don't need all those practices to really achieve perfection through this process. Like Arjuna was a grihastha, he was as a family, but he achieved the highest perfection. So this is devotion service is so powerful that it doesn't require one to really go through all of this that other process recommend. Okay, we'll end here. Hopefully next week we'll have the class in our room. I'm very eager. I'm sorry we are going through this, but we'll get there. Okay, but we'll see, like 90% it is available next week. If there is a chance, we might not have even next week because they're renovating the room. Okay, thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.